Hello friends, it's Dylan Young here, developer advocate at Sitecore. My focus has been, up to this point, on the engagement cloud, including CDP and Personalize. Today, however, I will be talking about XM Cloud, with a focus on how to configure XM Cloud with personalization and analytics. We will talk about the changes that have been made to add the new Sitecore Cloud SDK with engaged modules, changes to JSS with Next.js to support personalization, and then capturing the views on your rendering host for analytical purposes in XM Cloud. So let's go on in and check this out. So let's talk about the agenda for this video. We'll do a brief introduction into XM Cloud with personalization. What is it and how is this different from CDP and personalized tenants? Then we'll do a very high-level overview of how it works. We'll then jump into a live demonstration of XM Cloud that I've already got configured, and we'll set it up for personalization purposes. We will not walk through the setup of the environment for development purposes. This is something that my teammate Sebastian Winter has created some great videos covering that topic. But instead, we will walk through the configuration needed for a rendering host, which we are hosting in Vercel. We will configure the required environment variables needed to capture view events for analytics and to display personalization that we'll configure in XM Cloud with Pages. Then finally, I'll create a personalization rule in Pages and demonstrate that personalization rule running in our rendering host and looking at site analytics in XM Cloud. We'll then conclude today's topic. So how exactly is XM Cloud with personalization different from CDP or personalized standalone tenants? Think of it as if you're getting a small sliver of the personalized tenant inside XM Cloud. It's like getting 5, 10, 15% of the capabilities that exist within a standalone personalized tenant. So you don't get the capabilities of decision models, experiments, or advanced experiences. With XM Cloud with personalization, you do not get access to that tenant directly. However, you can create variances for personalization using the Pages interface. And the interface is very similar to XP, where you could create rules or define rules and then personalize the experience from that, which we'll walk through today. The audience conditions are all out-of-the-box templates that you cannot extend further for your specific purposes. But this is a great example of a scenario where you can buy a personalized specific license and then have those capabilities, because then you can extend these out-of-the-box templates for your specific purposes. In terms of analytics and data collection, it's limited to 30 days and limited to just view events. So think of it as a very slim, small sliver of what you would get with a personalized only tenant. So let's talk about what has been configured in XM Cloud to enable both collection of view events and to enable personalization. Like I mentioned in the intro, the fundamental driving of all of this is the new Sitecore Cloud SDK with engaged modules. I'll have more content on this in this video and in future videos, so please stay tuned to that. Also, there are enhancements made to JSS for Next.js, including a new personalized middleware for personalization and a component to enable view event capture. Second, I'd like to just call out how you would configure this to have this kind of functionality out of the box to kind of go along with today's video. If you're getting started with XM Cloud, there are a couple options that you have. You can use the starter template for XM Cloud. It's called XM Cloud Foundation. When you create a new website with this starter kit, then you can create a new basic site. And that basic site can have all the built-in of the Sitecore Cloud SDK built within it and all the enhancements to JSS. You can also create your own JSS Next.js rendering host using the JSS app initializer. I've included a sample on this screen of what that command would look like. But there's also more documentation if you're looking for further configuration of this. So how does all of this work from a high level? You're hearing middleware, you're hearing capture of data, automatically. So how does all these pieces fit together? Well, someone will typically navigate to your Next.js website. And as they navigate to that website, the Sitecore Cloud SDK captures view events. As users land on those pages of your website, there is a personalized middleware for Next.js setup. It looks at your experience edge in XM Cloud to get details about the current page and what personalization variances have been created for this page. If there are variants that exist, it will then call and trigger an experience inside Sitecore Personalized, the slim version of Sitecore Personalized, used with this XM Cloud instance to determine if the rules match any of the current context, such as the session data about the user or where they're geolocated as examples. If it does match, then a personalized version of this page is rewritten for the current page and displayed to the user of this page. Very complicated, but basically a other page has been created that represent your personalized use case, and then that one will be surfaced instead of the kind of default view of that page. For more details on how all of this works, refer to the documentation that I've included on this slide, and also will have in the description of this video. As I previously mentioned on a few other slides, previous screens of this presentation, there is a new Sitecore Cloud SDK with Engage modules. This is available on NPM as a node-based SDK, and I've included a link there. I'm not covering in today's video, but I'm going to cover in future videos where I'm going to go into a technical deep dive of how to configure this for a site that's not already got it pre-configured for JSS or what has been configured for XM Cloud. So stay tuned for that. And then lastly, there are environment variables. These are the environment variables I'm going to be configuring today that enables what's needed for the Sitecore Cloud SDK and the middleware described on the previous screens. We will be walking through these configurations in our Vercel host for our rendering host. You could also configure these locally if you have a local development environment configured, and you could set these up in your environment variables. So now with all that defined, let's go on into our XM Cloud instance and start configuring our environment for personalization and the ability to capture view events. Hello friends, it's Dylan here. I hope you're enjoying today's content, but please don't forget to subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any of the future upcoming content that we're releasing on other Sitecore topics. Also, if you haven't done so already, you should definitely like this video. This helps others find the video in the YouTube algorithm. And so with that, thank you, and let's get back to the video. All right, to start our demo today, I am looking at the XM Cloud deploy application for XM Cloud. What you'll see here is I have a project defined, and I have an environment called prod defined already, and I actually have a couple sites defined. So what I'm going to do is work on the trial run site to configure it. So the first thing I need to do for personalization purposes and for the capturing of events is I'm going to need to configure points of sale. So in order to do that, I navigated over to the page for XM Cloud for my site that I'm configuring. But what I actually want is to click on the home screen here, which takes me back to my XM apps, which is like the launch pad from the old XP XM days. So once I'm there, there is a settings tab. I'll click on that. And then there's this option to create site identifiers. This is essentially creating points of sale for a Sitecore CDP or personalized tenant behind the scenes. So because the tenant does exist, it's just not accessible. There has to be a way to create those points of sale that are used for capturing events and for personalization purposes inside your XM Cloud app. So what you would want to do is click this site identifiers are missing, click the add site identifier, and once you have that, you will see that we will have a trial run identifier here. There's actually another way to see this once we're in the site. So if we click on over to tools and click on Content Editor. In the Content Editor, there is actually the two sites I've been defining. I'm going to click on Trial Run real quick, which is the one I'm showcasing today. And in Settings, and underneath Settings is a site grouping, and underneath the site grouping is a Trial Run item. And in here, there is a setting for points of sale. Point of sale, star, and then trial run. So you could define more than one site identifier, although the interface I just showed didn't have an option for that. You could create them here. However, you would need to have a way to create those in the personalized tenant that you're setting up. So now that we've confirmed that this is set up, and we're going to need to make sure that we copy this value, because we're going to need this here in a second when we're configuring our rendering host in Vercel. So copy that value, and now what I want to do is one last step is publish everything to your Experience Edge environment. If you don't do this, if this is the first time you set up this site and you don't do this step, then you're going to have issues having any data for Experience Edge to load. One other step that falls within this is that you need to make sure you have an Edge token created as well. This is a prerequisite just to use Vercel to surface up your rendering host. So that's not necessarily related to personalization or analytical tracking information, but it is important for hosting your site, your rendering host on Vercel. So while that's going on, what I want to do is click on over to Vercel. Now I already have an instance spun up for the same source or repository that I am using for this video, but I'm going to actually go ahead and create a new project. And I'm going to create this new project for the trial run that I'm creating. So once that's selected, we'll click on the Continue with GitHub option. And once that is set up, you already have your Git repository synced. This is assuming you do. So the next thing is we're going to just import this XMC ETE demo video. This is the repository I'm using for this video. And then we're going to specify a few things. First off, we're going to specify the framework, which is Next.js. Now, Sebastian Winter, teammate on my team, he's already gone through a lot of these steps of setting up Vercel, so I'm not going to go too specific with this, but if you watch his video, you can also go through the same process. We're also going to need to point it to the source for this. We're going to use this S66 starter that I have in the repository that I already have defined to have the files. And then we need to define some environment variables. So this is where the configuration for not only our rendering host so it can surface content from our XM Cloud instance needs to be defined, but it's also where we need to set up our CDP and personalize or our personalization type options for XM Cloud. So let's go through this real quick. So the first ones I'm going to define are just for, like I said, for my rendering host to be able to surface content. Trial run is the name of the application or the website that I have. Then I am going to create a GraphQL endpoint. Then I am going to specify fetch with, which I don't know if I necessarily need, but let's be on the safe side. And then we need our Sitecore API key, which the Sitecore API key is the Experience Edge token that you must create using either the PowerShell script that's in the foundation starter kit, or find another method to create that. You can also refer to, like I said, to Sebastian Winter's content, where he talks a little bit more about setting up XM Cloud and hosting it with Vercel. But I'm not necessarily covering that. I just want to get to the next few settings, which are the ones we're going to want to configure for CDP Personalize, our slim version of Personalize that's with XM Cloud. So the next one we want to define is the point of sale. And that is going to be trial run, which is what we just talked about, what I just showed, how to find the point of sale. The next one is the client key. This one is going to be something you're going to need to work with your Sitecore support to determine what this value is, because this is the client key for your tenant, which you don't have direct access to, so you'll need to make sure that you get that value from Sitecore support. And then there is the target URL, which is the environment. There's 3 different options there. Go back to the slide where I had it. I had the 3 different options, but they basically reflect US, Europe, or European Union, or APJ. And so because I was using a US-based XM Cloud instance, I'm just going to specify US for that. Okay, so now that that's specified, we'll go ahead and click deploy. And now it has completed, it has deployed the assets. So let's just scroll up here to the top. It's congratulations, this has been deployed. Here's our website. Let's click on over to it. And just take a look at this real quick. Nothing much to see yet. I want to show personalization and how to collect view data that will be shown in the analytics dashboard inside the pages dashboard in XM Cloud. So we're going to start with creating some personalization rules first. So to do that, I'm going to navigate back to my pages interface. Let's just refresh the page in case something has changed recently. And then once this loads, I'm going to walk through. I'm going to actually create a personalization rule that allows you to identify that the user, in this case it will be me, is in North America. And then I'm going to show a specific block because of that. So what I'm going to do first is click on Home. And then I'm going to click on this Personalize option on the left. And now you see that we have the default kind of page variant specified. But what I want to do is create a new page variant. And I'm going to call this North America. And now we create our audience, which is a very similar interface to XP, where you define define rules. And based on those rules would determine if this page variant would display. So let's just call the audience title North America again. And then we're going to create our first condition. And for this, it's pretty simple. We're just going to use geo information to determine the region. So we're going to click this little plus button. And now we have our kind of condition that we can specify. So the visitor is in, and then we can specify a region. I'll say North America during the current visit. I'll go ahead and save that change. Pretty simple selection. You can do multiple conditions, groups, ands, ors. It's pretty flexible what you can do here. So that has saved. So now we can just click the X, exit out of that. And now we see our new page variant here. So the next thing that you can do, once you have a page variant defined, then you can customize all the different blocks on the page. So unlike XP, where you personalize component by component, in here you would personalize the entire page to your desired liking. So for that, I'm actually going to modify this component at the bottom. And it says rich text is not personalized. So we can click on this, rich text is not personalized. And now we can go over here to the right-hand panel and then select a new content item to personalize, to show personalized content. You wouldn't edit the text directly because you're editing that original default variant, page variants content, not the new North America page contents variant information. So what we'll do is we'll select the little edit button. So we can select or create a new block. So I am going to create a new block. Just going to call this or use text and call this North America. And then I'll assign this. Once this has been assigned, we can add some text to it now. So I'll just say North America. It works. Nothing fancy. Great thing about the Pages interface is it saves as you work on this, so I don't have to click save now. It just made those changes for me. And one thing I want to do is I want to publish this change now. Publish item with all sub-items. So I'll go ahead and do that. So now that this is published, we'll go over to our Vercel host and do a Control F5 to refresh. And there you go. It says North America. It works. So here is an example of personalization working. So one other thing I want to show is the capturing of a view event data. So I just navigated over to the About page. I really only have 2 pages here to navigate to, so nothing elaborate of page navigations. But I want to show the analytics dashboard because I've now tracked essentially a couple page view events or captured a few page view events. I want to now see what this looks like back in our Pages Analyze dashboard. So I click on Analyze, and now we see information. Now I've visited this prior to this video, and now I've just visited it. So now it's showing 2 visits. Now this session I would assume is probably not going to show in there until the timeout expires for that point of sale. So that's why we're not seeing specific pages in here. But essentially this is the interface that you could navigate to see the information that's coming to your site, what people are looking at in a limited fashion. Obviously, if you're looking for more advanced analytical reporting, you're going to be looking at converting and buying a CDP specific license so that you can get advanced reporting. So that concludes today's demonstration and today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed this kind of first look at doing personalization and capturing view event data in the new XM Cloud. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. That way you can see future content on similar topics in the future or those done by the rest of my team. And then I'll definitely see you guys here next time. Take care. Bye-bye.